Okay. Hey everyone, Jessiana Seville here from thekidneyRD.com. Tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo. I speak very poor Spanish, but I really tried to learn Spanish as I have gone through my life. But we do like to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, and we also really appreciate and love Tex Mex flavors. We use a lot of them in the recipes and meal plans that we develop for our patients. It's a really easy food to nourish on a low sodium or potassium controlled, or whatever you need. So we're really excited to share a few of our tricks of the trade here tonight about Tex-Mex food. Now, along with this, we have published a few recipes over at the blog to honor this week. We have, I'm looking up here, we have a creamy kale quesadilla, red pepper pico de gallo, some Tex-Mex style stuffed peppers. So we got a lot of really awesome things over there that you can look at for sure. KidneyRD.com. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Tex-Mex foods, a few ways you can add flavor, some things that we like to do, and really dispel some big myths surrounding this favorite food for you. So maybe you can start including it if you're not already. So a couple things to know. First off, Tex-Mex typically, and deservedly so, has a bad reputation with kidney health, right? We got fajitos, nachos, meat, chilies, we have guacamole, which actually is amazing, but it gets a really bad rap. A lot of people are like, man, what am I going to put in my taco, right? Lettuce, and even then my tortilla has phosphate in it. So a lot of people feel discouraged that you can't do very much Tex-Mex, but you 100% can. In fact, I think actually more than 50% of our recipes are Tex-Mex that we have. There is a lot of ways you can make it plant forward. There's a lot of ways you can limit potassium if you need that. Not everyone needs that, even with a Tex-Mex diet. So, a couple myths surrounding Tex-Mex. Number one is that beans are off limits. If you like the refried beans or black beans, in fact, this is a big bag of black beans, right? But I brought black beans. Beans are not off limit, right? They are higher in phosphorus. If you look at this overall, like how much phosphorus in it, but the bioavailability, meaning how much you actually absorb, is not very much. We use a lot of beans for our plant-based diets, not our ketogenic diets, but for our plant-based diets, we use and include beans and love using them. And they work as a really good protein source as well. They're good, they're high in fiber, they're high in iron, they're high in folate, so we really like to use beans. So beans are off limit? No, that's a myth. Number two, kidney-friendly Tex-Mex is going to require a lot of effort to cook. It's going to be flavorless, and it's just not going to be like the real deal. So I will also say that is false. If you know how to use a little bit of cumin and a little bit of chili powder and a little bit of lime, you can make some pretty amazing Tex-Mex food. There are other spices you can use, but if you could, oh, and garlic. If you could at least use those 4 spices, cumin, garlic, lime, and chili powder, you can get some incredible flavors. We have, sometimes people will marinate their tofu, get a lot of good flavors in there. Those are a few things that you can do, or you put it in your dishes, and anyways, there's a lot of awesome things you can do. Another myth surrounding these Tex-Mex diets is that vegan cheese is the best option because it is plant-based. So I'm going to call the card on vegan cheese. Not that you can't use it, but it is definitely not a whole food. It's quite processed. And I know that they work really hard to get it close to cheese. I personally don't feel like vegan cheese is anything like real cheese. So be really careful if you're going to include vegan cheese. You're 100% plant-based. Be conscientious about how much you use. Just because it is plant-based does not necessarily mean it's kidney-friendly in any quantity you want. Doesn't mean you can't use some vegan cheese. So the other thing is you got to watch real closely for phosphate additives. You have to look in the ingredients. It'll say, phosphoric acid or sodium hexametaphosphate. So in the ingredients, if you see PHOS on any of the vegan cheeses, I would choose something different or you may find that there's other ways to have that cheesy, creamy flavor without actually having cheese. There's a lot of things that we'll do to build out that creamy flavor that you get in Tex Mex without actually using cheese or even vegan cheese. So vegan cheese isn't necessarily better just because it's plant-based. Okay, so a couple things that you can do. The first thing is, I want to talk about tortillas and corn chips. If you are using corn chips, look for a low sodium variety. Now, these are still fried in oil. There can be some downsides to them with the type of oil, but there is some room to put some of them, a corn chip in your diet. However, I would still keep it low sodium. The other thing is that if you're going to use a tortilla, and we really like, using tortillas, you have to look pretty carefully. This is a corn tortilla, but you're going to want to look really carefully on the ingredients here. A lot of corn tortillas have phosphoric acid. This particular brand, La Banderita, which was at Walmart, there's two different types. There's this one, and then there's another one that has phosphorus in it. So look really carefully on your ingredients. You can almost always find a corn tortilla anywhere that does not have phosphate additives in it. Other than that, corn tortillas can be awesome. This particular one has 5 milligrams of sodium for 2 tortillas, which is very low sodium. 2 grams of protein. So even if you're on a low protein or very low protein diet, you could fit in a tortilla really nicely. So a lot of things that you can do there. Okay, sorry, we'll pause there. So tortillas, one thing you could use, nice to have a base when you're cooking your foods. If you haven't cooked with corn tortillas before, I recommend you warm them up. They are a little bit, not always, but they're kind of rubbery when they're cold, and they break super easily. So we usually warm them up unless you want to have a taco sandwich instead of an actual taco. So that's one thing that you can do. Another thing you can do when you're looking at Tex Mex, replace things that you typically would think of as meat, going plant-based, with maybe some low sodium beans. Getting a extra firm tofu that is crumbled and cooked can taste a lot like a ground beef if you season it right. And I know you think I'm lying, but 100% that's true. Our favorite taco filling in our family is actually quinoa. So we'll cook like a big thing of quinoa in the rice cooker, and maybe we'll use it for one meal. And then the next night, I take that cooked quinoa and I put it in the slow cooker, and I put some salsa with it and some cumin, and I just let it cook all day or stay warm all day. And then we use that for taco meat. The texture is actually really good, and I think the flavor is better. So there's ways that you can replace meat in a taco or whatever to be utilized. If you eat out, right, remember a couple things. And I mean, going to a Tex-Mex place is a really fun thing to do. So if you are eating out, watch out for the heavy meat, the heavy cheese dishes. Fajitas, veggie fajitas can be a really nice dish if you're eating out. It's still going to be salty, but you are going to at least pull out some of those big offenders, and you can monitor your salt earlier in the day to allow for a little bit of that. So number 2, less sodium. Of course, always request a little bit less salt or no salt. Have your sauces on the side. Those can be helpful if you're eating out with Tex Mex. And then if you have a potassium restriction, you're going out to eat, then ask for something like pico de gallo. It only has 19 milligrams of potassium for a tablespoon. And if you're dipping, a lot of times the corn chips are not very salty in the restaurants. But pico de gallo has 19 milligrams excuse me, of potassium versus salsa, which is upwards of 44, which is still not very much. And guacamole is, probably the highest of all. Not everyone needs a potassium restriction. If you don't need one, then you don't limit potassium. It's very helpful for your blood pressure. I do see some questions popping in the live, so I'll answer them in just a minute. The other thing is that, excuse me, as you're adding Tex Mex into your diet, think about how you can add produce and vegetable. We are so trained to think about meat as the fundamental part of a meal, but there's a lot of ways that you can think about vegetables first, right? So how are you going to fill a taco with vegetables or plants? You can use quinoa, you can use lettuce, you can use a little bit of guacamole, you can use a little bit of tomato, you can use a cashew cream sauce. Some of our recipes, we use the cashew cream. So there's a lot of ways that you can really bulk out the food and make it not feel like you have made holes in it. And what I mean by that is that you had to pull out this ingredient, you had to pull out that ingredient, you're kind of left with nothing. We really want to focus on what you can have and really boost that up. You can substitute cauliflower rice for some of your rice, right? That can be a way to add a vegetable in. You can, top any of your things with guacamole instead of cheese. And again, even with the potassium restriction, sometimes you still have room to fit in that avocado or guacamole. You can order a salad on the side, or you can add shredded carrots or zucchini, or even you can do, if you're going to do like a chili, you can do beans and peppers and onions. And my husband actually adds zucchini to our chili too, and I think it's fine because the flavor is so strong. So, couple ideas for you. Make sure and hop over to our website and check out some of the recipes to go along with this week. There's a lot of really, really good stuff that we produced this week and that we have in the queue, so you can get some ideas on how you can cook, some actual recipes to cook. These are like double and triple tested recipes, so a lot that you can do. So as a recap, is Tex Mex off the table for CKD? No, it's not. Beans can work. Low sodium corn can work. Watch for the phosphate in your corn tortillas and heat them up a little bit so they don't tear. Those are all things that you can do. Use your flavors, garlic, cumin, chili powder, lime. All of those are really good, powerful flavors. And try out a few new recipes. I think you'll find that Tex-Mex can really work in your diet if you want to include it and if you enjoy it. So that's it for tonight. The website is kidneyrd.com. We'd love to talk with you over there. If you have something coming up with your kidneys, we do free strategy calls. I'm just going to pull down my questions here. Free strategy calls to talk with people about our services, how we work with our clients. And of course, that is our biggest joy, is to be able to see the progress that people make with their kidney disease. So hope that is helpful for anyone. If it is, please like, please share, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.